music, rhythm, noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows, dissect the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steampunk Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello there. Welcome to another episode of The Pun Show. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing better than some people are. I wish some people maybe weren't doing as well as they are, but that's the world we live in. So today's shirt is the Content Creation Union shirt. This was my union shirt from a previous vocation. We actually started the union. We didn't have a union. It was my first experience helping to get one going, and it was actually quite an experience. And I will say this about the Democrats. If the Democrats really wanted to get back in people's good graces, one great place to start would be advocating for union rights again. So anyway, I am drinking right now. This was actually Dr. B, which is the HEB version of Dr. Pepper, but this is not Dr. B. This is my own version of Dr. Pepper that I made with kombucha. I call it Dr. Kombucha. It's actually very tasty. It's my first foray into this. I've been getting into fermenting lately. So I've been fermenting kombucha. I've been fermenting water kefir and gingerbug. I'm trying all three to see which ones I like better. I'm gonna do a coffee kombucha next and see how that comes out. Anyway, this has like 1/3 the gram of carb, or the 1/3 the carbs of like a actual Dr. Pepper, and it has tons of probiotics in it. The probiotic stuff, you know, like if you ferment stuff at home, like your own kefir, your own yogurt, you'll get like a whole bunch more probiotics in there than otherwise. Anywho, not like anybody seems to care about this, not getting any comments on it. But, you know, that's the thing. So a few things we can talk about before we dive into the whole rubber band thing that I want to talk about today is, first of all, this idea that we're sending ICE agents into airports to now, I guess, to stop human trafficking. All right, so I have a couple of questions. One, if sending ICE agents into airports to stop human trafficking is a thing, if that's actually going to help, considering, you know, that actually stopping human trafficking is part of why ICE was created, why weren't they already doing that? Like, why did it take this whole thing to get them to do that? As you know, Tom Homan says, Tom the Human Ham Homan. Why weren't we already doing it? And number two, how many have we gotten? How many of those human traffickers have we wrangled up in our ICE nest, or are we just, you know, scaring the crap out of American citizens again? Hey there, Beerp. Is it Beerp? Can I call you Beerp? Is that the way to say that? Hopefully, I won't Beerp after I drink too much of my kombucha. Or do I pronounce that burp? So anyway, that's the first thing we can talk about is like Wyatt Burp. Like, hey, second wave animations. Have a good day, you too. I like Wyatt Burp. I think that's a good name. About 20 minutes from home. Hey, Brett, how you doing? Yeah, so first thing is the ice thing. Now, the second thing is this lawsuit that has been filed by the detainees at the what is it, the I forget the name of the Dilly or whatever, Dilly. Yeah, and Dilly, Dillelley, Dilly. So there's this massive lawsuit of them, and hey there, Walter, how you doing? So there's this there's this lawsuit against this Dilly Center, which is actually really kind of disturbing. Their accusations are that they were mistreating children, to put it bluntly. To put it actually nicely, is they were mistreating children. There was a girl that committed suicide, and they didn't really try and help her before that. There was like reports of worms in their food, like people are finding worms in their food. They're already in a very hostile situation, right? Just by nature of being in this detention center. And, you know, it's not their fault. They're kids. You can blame their parents if you want. Well, their parents shouldn't have been here illegally. Whatever. The kids didn't do anything wrong. And that's no excuse to abuse children. And even like they're already in this situation, like they don't turn off the lights at nighttime, so they can't actually ever get good sleep. There's just all kinds of stuff. And in a way it's not the worst thing, but in a way it's the worst thing, just because there's no reason for it. Is that the one thing they had was like their crayons, and they could like draw stuff about what they were going through and kind of put their pain out there on paper. But I guess the guards didn't like seeing their pain on the paper, because they confiscated all the paper and the crayons. So now the kids can't even draw. They can't even draw. And I just don't understand why deny them of that. What's wrong with them drawing? What are they going to do? Make you feel bad? So anyway, there's this thing called the Flores Agreement that was agreed on under Clinton, where you're not supposed to detain kids for more than 20 days. And these kids have been there a lot longer, like talking months and months with no end in sight. So anyway, what are your thoughts? Are you okay with child abuse? Are you against child abuse? Pro child abuse? Is it okay if they're illegals? You know, like if they're illegals, you can abuse children because they're not really people. Anybody want to defend what Dilly is doing? By the way, the core The core something or other is the Civic Core. Or, hang on, I'm looking it up. Anyway, that's the owner, the company that owns that is one of the big investors, or that's one of the big recipients of all the massive government contracts for all these new detention centers. So they're going to get a bunch more. Oh, and by the way, they donated a bunch of money to Donald Trump's inauguration and library and all that stuff. So we're paying them to abuse children because they gave money to Donald Trump's slush fund. How do you feel about that? Core Civic is the name. So, all right, let's go through some comments here. What's up, gang? Hey, Walter. You got a blunt? I do not. Hello, Gary. How you doing today? Actually, I'm glad you're here, because when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today's show, I think is in response to what you were saying yesterday. And so, just so you know, whether you agree with what I say or not, I don't know if you will, but at least you'll know that you were in large part inspiration for today's show. So stick around. I was finna troll, but good for you, talking about TS. What is TS? TSA? More democratic talking points. Your TDS. You know, TDS is just like, this is just dribble, Raymond. Like, what are you trying? What is that supposed to even mean? Child abuse is a talking point? That's literally inhuman, and it's pretty sure it's considered a war crime. Here's the thing: if Dilley were an actual war prison, it would be a war crime. Like, it does not meet the standard to hold prisoners of war. That's not very. I mean, it's like not letting people sleep and stuff. That's considered torture. But they're torturing children. It would be a war crime if they were prisoners of war. It would be a crime if they were actual prisoners of, convicted felons and whatnot. But for some reason, they're just kids whose parents committed a misdemeanor, so it's fine. It's just disgusting and abhorrent. Keeping lights on and making noise to not sleep is inhumane. They even, like, the whole Flores Agreement says that children have to be treated humanely. They literally removed the word humanely from that. They literally did that. They took the word humane out of the wording, so that they don't have to be humane towards children anymore. Trump taking their crayons is wrong. To be fair to Trump, I don't think that that's him. I think that's Stephen Miller. But, Trump adjacent. They want them to return to their country before they can have their court date. And they're trying to torture the children to coerce the parents into denying their asylum claims. And I think that's an important thing to point out here. So thank you for bringing that up. These are not people who are actually here legally, illegally. They're asylum seekers. They are trying to do it the right way. And the fact is, if you really want to get technical, they haven't even committed a misdemeanor. Because if you come over here and claim asylum, then, especially if you hand yourself in at the border right away, you haven't even committed a misdemeanor. You haven't even committed that crime. That's why it makes it so unbearable to live in. That's why they make it. Yes. Thank you, Walter. It's a deliberate thing. They should not be mistreating those children for any reason. I agree. Trump votes by mail. That's something I want to talk about next. Dr. Kombucha. I'm telling you, this stuff is good. I can't stop sipping on it. So much has happened today, it's unshattable. I am not a Republican. 2003 Iraq War, over 5,000 American troops died and 80,000 were left with PTSD. All for a war masterminded by Israel lobbyist Paul Wolfowitz. Plan of attack, Bob Woodward, vote out AIPAC. I like that Trump says, oh, we might be having peace, and then people run to BB. Is that okay with you? I wonder if MAGA knows who Malcolm Nance and Chris Hedges are. They're scholars on the utterings of luminaries Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson. I do not know who Chris Hedges is, but I'm very familiar with Malcolm Nance. Malcolm Nance is brilliant. I'll have to look into Chris Hedges. I love Malcolm Nance. I have learned a lot from Malcolm Nance. The Prince of Blind Allegiance, nearly 3,000 civilians perished, and a direct consequence of U.S. policies dictated by AIPAC that have fueled decades of resentment in the Middle East. You know, I'm glad you bring this up. I wanted to talk about this, and I was going to forget, but fortunately, you have reminded me. We keep hearing about this 47-year war, right? And they keep using the 47-year war to excuse the actual war of us invading Iran. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, the Iran regime was good and decent and honest, and all we're doing is just messing up this democracy or whatever. No. Not saying that at all. So don't try and adjust my words here. But Iran being bad does not make us good. One, Iran has never actually carried out a terrorist attack on American soil, or at least on the American continent. I mean, you can get technical with American soil being an embassy or whatever. But they've never attacked America outside of the Middle East. And their issues are more with us being in the Middle East than we have freedom or death to America. I mean, there's, you know, like you can find people saying that, but you can also find people sitting there going bomb Iran in the middle of presidential debates. So it's not like they don't have a reason to say the same things about us. But the fact of the matter is, and the truth of the matter is, we've done a lot more to meddle in Iranian politics than Iran has done to meddle in our politics. Iran's position is they just want us out of their politics, out of their region. And there's legitimate conversations to be had because Iran is the most powerful nation in that region. And if they became the dominant nation in that region, that could cause all kinds of world issues. And those are conversations we need to have with the UN and with the rest of the Middle East. Actions like what we're doing right now actually undercut the long-term propensity for bringing about a democratized Iran, or one in which they aren't the dominant force in the region. Nor do they make do those make us become morally correct. Bombing school children does not make us morally correct. Starting wars does not make us morally correct. Might does not make right, as they say. And that's what Donald Trump seems to say when he says, you know, peace through force or whatever that kind of nonsense is. It's just might makes right. We can kill you, therefore we are the moral justified ones. And so I'm not saying Iran is good. I'm saying Iran is bad. But we can be bad too. And so can Israel. Israel's wiped out. Like, between Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran, there are about 5 million Arab people displaced right now. And most of them are Palestinian. So I mean, like at a certain point, I would, uh, react to the word genocide, especially, like you're talking about Jews committing genocide. Like Jews are the um, textbook victims of genocide. Like that's why I had and Israel was born as a result of the genocide against the Jews. So of course it sounds weird when you accuse Israel of genocide. But when you have forced out millions of people from their homes and killed, I think we've got to be getting up to 100,000 Palestinians now. At a certain point, it's genocide. I don't care who's doing it or to whom. The persecution of Jews during the Holocaust does not vindicate the persecution by Israel during the current conflicts in the Middle East. So anyway, thanks for bringing that up. I would have forgotten to mention that, but that's one of the things that's really been irritating me is this whole thing. Oh, that somehow we are defending the our rights or something. The only one attacking our rights is not Iran, it's Donald Trump. Okay, so that's resentment in the middle. Thank you. Okay, Trump took $230 million from pro-Israel interest groups so that he could send Americans to their deaths. I honestly do not think he gives a flying fornication about a single one of the 13 service members who died. And by the way, that's the same number that died when Biden was president. So, thanks, Walter. Yeah, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, take Walter's cue there and click that like and subscribe. Especially if you actually like it, because then other people that like it will come on and it'll gin up the algo, as Brett would say. We spent over $9 trillion and lost thousands of Americans. When will it be enough? Honestly, the people that are making the money aren't people that are losing their lives. So they're willing to pay any prices because they don't have to pay it as long as they keep getting richer. Radvinsky heavily invested in AIPAC, and 90% of Congress receives money from. What is Radvinsky? And I mean, like, I don't want anybody to think like I'm anti-Semitic, or I do not equate being Jewish with Israel. I think that, they're two separate things. And I believe there should be a Jewish state. I'm not against Israel being a state, but I can be against Israel committing genocide. That was a weird comment. I can't afford to fill up thanks to Trump. What is the price of gas today? I think we're up to $3.97. 397.7. Woo! We're only, I think, if we don't hit $4 tomorrow, we will hit it on Thursday. We will definitely be over $4 by the end of the week. And this was 100% Trump's choice. Biden got blamed for $5 a gallon as though he had anything at all to do with it. But this is all a direct cause and effect. Trump started a war and gas prices went up. Trump is blaming Hegseth and distancing himself. Okay, what is this? Tell me more, Brett. I can't wait until he turns on Keg's breath. Bibi funded and propped up Hamas. Yeah, there's some real, like, actual journalism that's been done on that shows he may have actually financed the October 7th attack so that he could use it as a distraction to avoid his own criminal trial. Okay. Yeah, this kind of trolling we don't need here. Bye. Okay. Trump started this war, now gas is going through the roof. Somebody's very Ox is very much wants me to talk about gas is over $4 a gallon. Well, it's 397.7 right now, nationwide. I always use that, I always use the national average. Republicans always like to use California when it's high and it's Biden's fault, and then use Oklahoma when it's low and Donald Trump is president. You are right. Ooh, 3 words I've never heard my wife say. Just kidding. She's actually said them. Trump paid Total Energies Inc. $1 billion US tax dollars to cancel its 2 free wind farms off East Coast, powering 1 million homes. Wow. Like, this is just stupid. They were already built. They're already functioning. And this is just like taking energy off the grid for no reason. Yeah, Iran's own people hate their regime with a passion. I agree. Again, I am not defending Iran. But Iran bad is not a defense of U.S. good. I think that if you want to make the argument that it was in our best interest and the world's best interest to rid Iran of that regime, then you can take that case to Congress. You can take that case to the UN. You can take that case so that it becomes an international effort and not just a war. Because the people that hate that regime with a passion are also the ones getting killed right now. The children in that school did not deserve to die. Let's discuss the Somalian Civil War genocide, 1981 through 1991. I don't see what there is to discuss about all of that. I mean, I don't understand why you think that's worth discussing. I was unaware that I don't understand the relevance here, or that Ilhan Omar's family connect. What does family connection mean anyway? Of course she had. I mean, her family came over here. They were nobodies when they came over here. She made something of herself. She actually lived the American dream. Iran was a democracy before we made it a theocracy. Back in, I want to say 52, 53, we supported a coup. They wanted to nationalize their oil or something like that. And British Petroleum was the one that was in charge of their oil. So they came to us and we helped them sponsor a little coup, and then the theocracy came out about that, or there was a corrupt government that came out about that. Then the current theocracy overthrew the government in 79, the corrupt government that we installed in 79. Nobody wants to tell the truth about why they hate America. They just a lot of other countries hate America because we keep just ruining them, because we impose our will on them. Like, they always make it about, oh, we hate America. Well, if I came up to you and punched you in the face every day, you might, and I was like 6'6" and 320 of solid muscle, and I just punched you in the face every day. After a while, you might get annoyed with that. You might not like me very much. Iran began hostilities with the West using their fleet of 20,000 flying carpets and throwing rocks at the innocent in 1905. Craphead is here. Isn't it ironic? Yes, it is. The whole thing with Israel is really ironic. Like ironic enough that I didn't even want to admit it, you know? In the Bible, it says that they will claim to be Jews, but they are not. I believe they are Caesarean Jews. I think the Bible says that there will be many that, like Jesus said, many will be saying, didn't I do these works in your name? And I will say, be gone from me. I never knew you. So I'm not sure about Jews. I know there's a lot of Christians, people who claim to be Christians who are going to be in for a surprise. Hey guys, let's create a war to stop talking about the Epstein files. All we have to do is sacrifice troops, reputation, and the economy. Deal? I wouldn't be surprised if that's word for word. I think, was it, where? What's his name? We got, oh, was it Friend Zone? Yesterday, I think, that said, pretty soon he's going to like release the Epstein files to distract from the war. That's how bad it's going. Israel got a right to defend themselves, but not kill the people that have nothing to do with who attacked them. Yeah, I agree. Like at a certain point, it's just murdering people. And that point was a long time ago. 2,000 Jews died. I get that. That's, I understand why you want to go and get the people that killed the Jews. But you're up to like 90,000 now. I think you're more than even. Donald Trump and Netanyahu, biggest criminals on the planet. Well, I think you're selling Putin a little short there. But the three of them. Unfortunately, in war, always innocent. Yes, which is why, again, Gary, you're right. War is unfortunate in that always innocent people always die. But that's why you need to be cogent. That's why you need to articulate why you're going to war before you do so. That's why you need to actually take action to prevent war that can be taken. That's why you need to negotiate. That's why you need to bring in other countries. That's why you need to bring in Congress. Because innocent people get killed. That's not an excuse to like just do it. That's a reason to not start wars, not to start wars. Wish you guys could try this. It's actually better than Dr. Pepper. The plum juice really hits. I wish it wasn't. Don't forget to click the like button, even the MAGA. That's right. That way you bring in more of your buddies from your own algorithm. The more, the merrier. So my wife's name is Mary. We have a neighbor named Mary. So we had a new person move in across the street. And then, so we were all meeting each other. And Mary said hi to her, and she said, I'm Mary. And then Mary said, I'm also Mary. And then my Mary said, the more the merrier. So she got a little the pun vibe rubbed off on her. You do understand the service is voluntary. What service is voluntary? You say you do understand the service is voluntary. I don't know what service you're referring to. I like to see people have intelligent conversation without starting fights. Well, that's what we try to do here. So, MAGA, what does BB Nick taste like? I swear I thought you were an actor in a movie I was watching last night. I was about to freak out. It's crazy how you look like him. You look like Gary the Gaper from Man Ass Pounders, Volume 3. Okay, well, you watch what you want to watch. 3.397, $5 here. Yeah. I always use the national average just because I think it's more honest that way. Like, and the national average, according to AAA, this is what I use. Here, I'll just share my screen. This is what I use regardless of who's president or how the prices are, because I like to be consistent. Today's national average is 397.7. And so, like, you can hover over different states, and like Washington is 529. In California, it's 582. So there are some states where it's a lot higher. I think. This is interesting. The lowest states are in the Midwest. So somewhere it's 326. Okay, so that's Oklahoma's the cheapest. That's usually the case. Nebraska 333, 338, 344. Illinois got gas tax. So I think anyway, that's where we're at. That's a cheap state. Diesel is a nightmare. Yeah, what is diesel is up to? $534.5. Do you drive a diesel, Brett? Well, so diesel's only 45% off its record high. Do you like Trump or Biden? I do not like Trump. I thought Biden was much better. I think I still had some issues with Biden, but like I'd give him a B. Washington, D.C. is already over $4. Neither what? Oh, you're talking about Trump or Biden? I think people forget that Biden actually did do a lot as president. I think people forget how incredibly screwed up things got in 2020. We were in the middle of the biggest recession since the Great Recession. We had possibly even the Great Depression. We had the biggest pandemic since the Spanish flu. And we had the most civil unrest since the 60s. And we had a president that just wanted to pretend none of it was happening and that it was all a conspiracy against him, and to yell and scream that things were better when they weren't, or shoot protesters and stuff. Like, so Biden kind of had a lot to come back from. And then before he even took office, there was the whole attempted coup thing. So considering his starting point and where we actually ended up, I think Biden did a pretty good job. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, did a study in like November of 2020. And they speculated if unemployment is 6% by the end of 2024, we're doing pretty good. Biden had it at less than 5% by the end of his first year and virtually through his entire first term. And even, people want to say that those jobs that were created by Biden were just recovery jobs, but that's not really true. And that's not really a very honest way of looking at things. That's why I bring up the CBO projection of 6%, because that gives you a baseline of what was expected versus what happened. Vice President Trump. Oh, I see what you did there. Not vice president, like Vice President Vance, but like the president who has vices, Vice President Trump. We're at 5.8 in California. If gas prices are higher than your earthquake, then things are getting really bad. Rudzinski is now the dead sex trafficker principal owner of OnlyFans. Who is Rudzinski? I don't even know what is I don't know who Rudzinski is. Is he any relation to Ted Zinsky? All right, so that was a bad joke. Are you talking about Jan Rudzinski? I don't know who's Rudzinski. I don't know who that is. President Netanyahu. Yes. Hit the like button. Everybody listen to Gary. Even Gary's saying hit the like button. Trump is losing the war. I don't, how do you win this war? I mean, like really, what, because he's never outlined why we're at war, it's really hard to say how he wins it because there's no objective by which to measure. And if he doesn't actually win it, by default, he loses it. So he's kind of just right away, without even going in with any clear objective, he's made it impossible for him to win the war, so to speak. Trump blaming Hegseth would be right out of Roy Cohn's. Yeah, so what's going on with this? Brett, anybody want to tell me? I've missed something. Trump blaming Hegseth would be right out of Roy Cohn's playbook. MAGA doesn't know who Roy Cohn is either. Man, he threw, what's her name? The dog killer. He threw her under the bus faster than you can say cricket. He's just distancing himself and using veiled words about his leadership scandals lately. Deport MAGA. I think Hegseth is going to resign before he gets terminated. I wonder if he'll have a job back at Fox News again. We are in charge. Cry harder. Oh, great response. And there were children. 419 here. I'd like to amend my accusation. I believe Trump is doing this war to distract from the Epstein files because he was paid by Israel and because he's trying to stay out of jail. There can be multiple causes for one thing. It's just another Iraq war 2.0, 349 here. Wow. It's I think what is it in Texas now? 362. I don't know what it is where I'm at. I have a Nissan Leaf. So for me, I haven't paid for gas in almost 3 years. His name is Asian 808. You were expecting a reaction, weren't you? Or did he say something trolly? Oh. Yeah. Who cares if other countries don't like America? What does that mean? I don't care if other countries like America or not. I think that using they don't like America as a pretext for war is stupid. They won't use the petrodollar and the who won't use the petrodollar and the economy will collapse. Who's not going to use the petrodollar? It's Petro. You realize that anyway. No point. Maybe just because we don't have the things you're using in your hands right now. 80% of Jews are. I'm not going to get into that. That sounds like it's starting to get into anti-Semitism. I don't want to wake up every day and think how I can make Iran like me. I don't really care if Iran likes me or not. I think the reason I'm talking about that, Jim, is I'm just trying to point out if we really want to talk about our relationship with Iran, we should also talk about why Iran is bothered, which is we're the ones meddling with them. Leviticus 19:34, the stranger who resides with you shall be to you like someone native born among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. I'm the Lord God. Yeah. You know, a lot of Christianity begins and ends at Donald Trump. I had a conversation with two men who had a question written down that said, is America racist? I said, yes, it is. It is absolutely. I mean, the idea that it's not racist is just to ignore like all of American history. Yes, it's racist. It's like asking, are circles round? There's not like some big, like theoretical question. We started off with slavery. After slavery, we had sharecroppers and all of that kind of stuff during Reconstruction. Then we moved on to Jim Crow laws and redlining and all of that. We've never, right now, look around. There's, Black people have higher incarceration rates. They have higher prison sentences. They have less wealth. There's institutional racism, and a lot of your, like white MAGA, I'm not a racist, stereotypical Charlie Kirk nonsense types. They want to make it sound like that doesn't make us racist. And they want to say that, oh, no, there's no such thing as systemic racism. What laws are racist? And it's like, that's not what systemic racism means. When you have racial, like extreme racial differences in every aspect of society, there's one of two reasons for that. Either one, the system is set up that is making it easier for certain people to thrive than others, or Black people are just inferior. Okay, so if you deny that the system is causing that effect, then you are basically saying that Black people are inferior. So if you deny institutional racism, by default, you are an actual white supremacist. So it's either white supremacy or institutional racism. Take your choice. Putin's a great guy. The president said so. Yeah, he would never lie to us. The IDF did a whole family. I can't even type what they did, but it was, whoa, from adult to 7 years old in the head. What a, like, yeah, that's not right. I don't even know how to, like, that's so far beyond not right that saying not right feels not right. Israel has no right to mass murder of Palestinian people. Ilhan Omar's was father and grandfather. No, they weren't. Okay. Yeah, we don't need that nonsense here. Okay. We love Trump. Good for you. Our president is a prime example. Historically speaking, it existed throughout the United States. There's not even any question about it. Donald Trump got all upset that Barack Obama won. It's like the people that say that America's not racist are also the people that say Donald Trump demanding to see Barack Obama's birth certificate isn't racist. It's not that it's not racist. It's just, at best, you don't know why it's racist and you're not curious enough to find out. The US and UK. Yes. The UN, and yeah. We know how Israel was created. I'm not sure what. Yeah, you did. The United States is racist. When did I pivot? No, I used the same direct examples, and also you said America is racist. Yes, America is racist. What? Why are there's no confusion over this? America is a racist nation. They're saying Netanyahu is Trump's daddy. Ooh, ooh. There's a thought I didn't need. Give me a fact of Trump being racist. Posting pictures of the Obamas as apes. This is actually what the whiteboard said. I never wrote the question. The convicted felony in office is racist. I voted for Trump. No more wars, less government spending, and to get justice for the victims of Epstein Island. I definitely don't love Trump anymore. So you've had some second thoughts, huh? That quote, here's the thing. First of all, welcome to the fold. You will get no judgment here. There's that Saturday Night Live skit where the mom is all trying to tell her kids that she's come around, and her kids are like trying to give her a hard time. It's like, hey, as long as you learned, I mean, maybe it took you a few extra lessons and a summer school or two, but you learned. Welcome on board. This is a no judgment zone. As long as you're learning, you're improving as a person. And I mean that regardless of politics or whatever. I feel like as a society, we have, especially when it comes to politics, though, we have ostracized learning, and we call it like flip-flopping or double standard or whatever. But yeah, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Trump's racist. How? He posted pictures of the Obamas as apes. That's how. That's just one of many, many examples. It's like asking an example of how a circle is round. I voted for all of this. Where did he campaign for any of it? Tell me where he campaigned for war with Venezuela. Tell me where he campaigned for war with Iran. Because I'm pretty sure that he told you that if he didn't win, Kamala Harris was going to bring us into war with Iran. I remember that like a specific thing. I think he even said it during one of the debates. So if you voted for all of this, why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris? Because that's who he promised was going to invade Iran. He isn't, but he's a traitor. Well, he's both a traitor and a racist. I mean, he posted pictures of the Obamas as apes. I like Biden overall. He has failed in every way. By that, I'm gathering you mean Trump, not Biden. Better than a malignant narcissist. Trump, yes. Biden was so transparent. That's true. Actually, and this is what I'm going to talk about eventually once, if I ever get caught up on the comments here. But this is something I really do want to talk about. In a lot of ways, Trump is transparent too. I'll give him that. Even with all the lies and stuff. We're about to have a lockdown to ration gas, electricity, work from home. Well, that would be interesting. Military is voluntary. Yes, military is voluntary. I was voluntarily in the military myself. I enlisted in 86, got out in 90. But when you join the military, you have this belief that the president of the United States is not going to send you to die for your country to distract from the fact that he raped children. Like that your military service is going to be respected and honored, not abused and belittled. Donald Trump does not respect military service. And Donald Trump does not honor military service. He wore that bleeping baseball cap to the honoring of those soldiers, well, Marines, who gave their lives for our country at his order. They died because of him, and he couldn't even have dignity in the dignified transfer. So yes, military is voluntary, but so is human decency, and he has not shown it. Thomas, name one thing Trump has done that you're satisfied with. Bitterman did a lot of snoring. What are the 7K in checks? Yeah, we're supposed to be getting some of those checks by now. Name one thing that Trump has done that you have been satisfied with. I don't see him naming anything yet, but I'm behind. Trump is a narcissistic, pathological liar. Thomas. Sippy Cup Joe said, where am I? Yeah, Donald, I don't know why you're talking about Joe Biden right now. He's not president. Seems like you're you can't defend Trump, so you have to attack Biden. And so somehow Biden wouldn't even be president if Harris won. Like, why are you so hung up on Joe Biden? Could it be because that you can't defend Trump? Trump and MAGA are a terrorist organization. Yes, they are. Trump is a master at lying. So keep that orange bag on your chin and chug his white Kool-Aid. We don't gaff about you either. I know what gaff is, but I say gaff because it's a monetized channel. It took 2,419 years, but we proved Socrates right about democracy. Orange man took my ice cream cone. I don't know why. Legion M Chase. Lisa, get yours today. Here in LA, some gas station from Chevron. Whoa, $8.30 a gallon. That's a lot. He's already lost. That was lost from the first day they destroyed all the bases in the Middle East. It's a good thing to get America out of the Middle East. I mean, that would be an interesting, like, that would actually solve a lot of the world's problems if the military just got out of the Middle East. It might. I'm not sure how Israel would respond to that, but I also wonder how much do we inflate how bad the rest of the Arab world wants to, destroy Israel. It seems like there's a lot of politicized rhetoric that goes behind that. And I'm not sure. I haven't looked into, I looked into the whole history of it. What I do know is that the Jews in the Muslim world were treated much, much better for, 1900 years in the Muslim world than they were in the Christian world. I think it sucks that Iran is better at trolling than America. Kelly, do you think the pandemic was just a coincidence in its timing when it happened? I absolutely think it was. I think that any notion that it was somehow planned, I mean, the pandemic it's not just conspiracy theory. It goes to the very heart of why conspiracy theories work and take hold. It's because people feel like they need to have control over their lives. So something completely random, like a pandemic, like just this mutation of a virus can have so much impact on their lives that it must be by design. It must have some sort of purpose behind it, because then you can figure out whoever purposed it and you can resent that person. You can blame somebody. And that's the deal with, a lot of conspiracy theories. So, yeah, I think the pandemic was just a coincidence. It would have happened if Hillary Clinton was president, would have happened if Joe Biden was president, would have happened if I was president. It wasn't going to be stopped. I think that there maybe in some ways a better chance it would have been less impactful if, for instance, the lab in whatchamacallit, where the virus started, they had a monitoring system there that Trump shut down. So maybe it could have gotten caught earlier, and maybe then it wouldn't have happened. So in some ways, maybe it wasn't a coincidence, but I think it probably still would have happened either way because of the delay in between when you got infected with the disease and when you became symptomatic, and because so many people were non-symptomatic that were running around spreading it. But no, I don't think that there was some sort of plan to it. I truly believe they're trying to collapse the fiat banking system and bring the quantum financial, there's some dude that comes on here from time to time that wants us to go from the petrodollar to like the crypto dollar. Ken Doll Pete. I don't know what that means. Vietnam didn't end well. Actually, Vietnam, I mean, it's doing pretty decent right now, all things considered. Trump is deflecting blame for the Iran war escalation onto advisors like Pete Hegseth. Am I gay? No, I am not. I don't have a problem with people being gay, but I'm just not. MAGA keeps going overboard and thinking everyone against this war automatically supports Iran. That's not the case. It's a horrible place. This is with everything MAGA. It's always false dichotomy. It's like, oh, you can't be, murdering people on the high seas. Oh, well, you're just for the drug cartels then. No, I'm for the rule of law. The 1950s Iran looked awesome from pictures. And what's one thing that's actually interesting is, do you know what country the most Jewish people lived in before Israel? Would you believe it was Iran? Iran used to have the most Jewish people in it. It used to be very friendly towards Jewish people. It is not about the Iranian people. It's the regime that took them over. If you watch, you will see that the Iranian people are very happy about them being taken out. Again, I don't really care if there are Iranian people that were happy about them being taken out. A lot of Iraqi people were happy about Saddam Hussein being taken out. This is not about that. This is not like a post hoc justification thing. If just removing that regime were sufficient reason, there is no reason that you can't make that case before Congress and you can't make that case before the world before we invade. It's not about the Iranian people at all. It's about whether or not the president of the United States can unilaterally decide what other governments are allowed to exist and which ones he can just decide to remove. We were dog walked into that. Rough. Pattern recognition is not racism. I agree. But when you call it pattern recognition to justify systemic racism, then yeah, that's racism. I'm so glad I'm not active duty under Trump. Well, somebody found a way to minimize racism, right, Seth? Racism is way less prevalent than it used to be. Is it though? It's always white people that say that. I think it's maybe less obvious than it used to be, because it's bad. So a lot of white people will say, it's bad, so they don't say the thoughts out loud that they're thinking. but it still exists. Just open your eyes. Watch a black guy walk around in a store and see how many eyes are watching him. Especially the cashier. That's a new one. Euphemizing racism with the phrase pattern recognition. I'm so sad, Kelly. You look sad. Animation people shouldn't look sad. Hello, do you know me? I am Palm Beach P. I do not know you. And I don't know who Palm Beach P is. I'm sorry. Yay, trolls. Thank you. Trump is a world-class liar and he has fooled many. What is the topic today, bro? I think I'm about to get into that. Let me just, I'll give me just a minute. I'm almost caught up on my comments here. Things are way better races and wise than they actually in a lot of ways they're not. If you look at right now, schools are more segregated than they were in the 70s. Wealth is going in the wrong direction. The things are not way better race-wise than they, and you've got the president of the United States trying to jam through laws that will disenfranchise black people disproportionately. Things are not better race-wise. You're just not aware of why not. So if America's racist, then undersir are racist. I don't even understand what that sentence is supposed to mean. What? A circle is round? The last time I checked, but Donald Trump has not weighed in on that yet. Pray for me never be creative. Do you think we have a chance to fix the country, or is it just like a lost cause? I feel like it's kind of gone. I think that we're getting to, I think that perhaps the goal is to break it beyond repair. And I really do wonder if we can come back. I'm not sure. I think we have to do some extreme things to get it back to normal. And I don't mean extreme bad things in a bad way. I think we need like a real left leadership to rise up. People voted for the guy, not the policy. It's a cult of personality. They don't even care what the policy is. He changes 180 degrees and they just right along and defend him. I mean, that is cult. I hope you skipped my Kool-Aid comment. The guy just pissed me off. I guess I didn't see your Kool-Aid comment, but he probably deserved it. He's killed 7 If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. No, that statement was not kind of racist. That was misconstrued. And guess what? A lot of black people did vote for him. I think that people don't understand what the word racism means when they use it. You know who's a racist? I'll tell you this. The guy who is a racist is, who said he's a racist? Okay. Ibram X. Kendi said he is a racist. And in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, the thing he said, the very first thing, if you're combating racism, the first thing you need to do is admit you're a racist. And his point was, we live in a society where we were raised with so much subliminal racist imagery and ideology just planted into our head. Just think like the Jeffersons, or, you know, I don't know what, like the shows about black people and the sitcoms about black people growing up tended to be either like caricatures of black people that fell into white stereotypes. And then you had like black exploitation, for me as growing up as a Gen X. And we kind of got away from that. But then, like Friends never had a black character. Seinfeld never had a black character. I mean, like not a main black character. Then you started having like, oh, the black guy on the show. But they were like the black guy. They represented the black guy. And he said the black things. There's a stereotype of blacks that is just in our head just by growing up in our culture. You don't have to like sit there and say, I hate black people. But yeah, so then you're walking down the street and you see a guy coming towards you that's dressed like the stereotypical gangster, and you just assume he's in a gang because he's black and wearing baggy jeans. That's a racist thought. And everybody has them. And you can do one of two things with that racist thought. You can accept it or you can reject it. If you consciously reject it, you are being an anti-racist. If you accept it, if you embrace that thought, then you are being an active racist. You're either a racist or an anti-racist. You get pelted by racist thoughts every single day, and you have to learn to recognize them and learn to reject them. There's no ambiguity on whether or not we have a racist society. We absolutely do. We empirically do. We statistically do. We objectively do. And there's only people that either acknowledge it or don't acknowledge it. And if you acknowledge it, you have to acknowledge that it affects you and influences you. I think maybe sometimes we almost over stigmatize the word racist, if you'll follow me, because we make it so bad that we actually encourage it, because we don't say, look, we've all got racist thoughts. We just need to reject them. But then it's like there's this defensive thing that happens. I'm not racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Like Donald Trump would say, anybody that says they don't have a racist bone in their body has a head jammed full of racist thoughts that they've never rejected. They're just not aware of it. So anyway, there's my rant on that. Realistically, okay. I don't know why people still defend Trump, because they're sunk cost. They're into it this deep. There's no going back. The left is 100% the party violence. What a ridiculous thing to say. Conway Harris was not competent to be president. How is she not competent to be president? What is it? Because she was a black, or was it because she was a woman, or was it because she laughed? She was a DA. She was an attorney general. She was vice president of the United States. She was a senator. She did all kinds of very, very competent things. She didn't just bankrupt companies or fail miserably as president the first time. Yeah, I think that when he made a joke that he shouldn't have made, but I mean, he also is 81, I mean, he tried to navigate the waters from when he was born. Remember, he grew up during segregation. He actually had to move quite a bit to get to where he is. Oh, that's fine. Some people just want to see the world burn. Trump is good for them. There is zero LNG coming from the Middle East. Nothing. So America is boned. In about 8 weeks, you won't be able to get an MRI, let alone anything else. What is LNG? Is that another thing that we're also? Oh, helium. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's another one. They were just talking about that. I thought helium was just like when you sucked in balloons and sounded funny. But apparently it's like really important to nuclear imaging. Climate change doesn't exist when it's summer. It gets hot and winter gets cold. You just like literally have no idea what you're talking about. Thank you for your service, fellow veteran. So you're telling me that all the U.S. military, I didn't say that, somebody else did. Random guy here jumping into a random live. Hey, veteran unfiltered. How you doing? Fellow veteran here. We can't leave Iran because they'll start towing oil tankers to pay for damages. Trump loses with high gas prices, so they have to escalate. This is ignorant, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so you don't actually have anything specific to say. You just generally stick your fingers in your ear and yell things. I support the rule of law, too. I'm still betting on America. Rule of law when thousands die yearly from the pirates dope. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about pirates for or dope or whatever, but I agree that drug smuggling should be illegal. I don't think that we have to choose between murdering people on the high seas and rule of law. I think actually we do a better job of stopping drug smuggling when we're actually arresting people and getting them to flip and finding out their trafficking patterns and cooperating with other countries overseas. If you actually want to stop drugs, bombing ships on the open seas is actually one of the worst ways to go about doing it. I don't think he does either. I also don't think I blame him. Iran has beautiful national parks, ecological protected zones. So, okay, Finch, how was Don made your life pathetic? How's has Don made your, because he put you in it with your bad grammar? No. Does it have to be my personal life? I mean, he's done a lot of things that have made a lot of, like, literally hundreds of millions of lives worse. One thing he's done that's made my life worse is the tariffs. That I have to spend, anywhere around 15% of my income just to buy stuff. I have heard of the project, the PNAC agreement that foreshadowed, predicted, planned the Iraq war. There was the 7 words in there. I can't remember the exact number, but there was something in there about, and it was by Paul Wolfowitz and all those other clowns. And it was, like a lot of the Bush administration wrote this white paper called the PNAC, or Project for the New American Century. And one of the things in there was, if there is a big terrorist attack, then we should blame it on Saddam Hussein and use that as a pretext to go and take all of Iraqi's oil, all the Iraqi oil, and remove Saddam Hussein. It was a reaction to not going and taking out Saddam Hussein after the first Gulf War. What message? When you message that other dude. Oh, thank you. Actually, Trump has given ignorant people the green light to shout what they used to whisper from 100 feet away, but they still do it from a moving car. And Gary, I despise Trump very much, so I see it every day. I feel China created the virus on purpose because they lied about it even when it was going on in their own country. Yeah, they didn't lie about it. I mean, anyway, China didn't create the virus. Under what end, and why would they like want to release it in their own country? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. It's just a conspiracy theory. There is racism all over and like just like they changed to the official wording from, it wasn't created in a laboratory to it probably wasn't created in a laboratory or something like that. Like it's still more than likely just spontaneously happened. And all this stuff you see about, like there's all these kinds of false, narratives that get leaked out, like how Wuhan laboratory actually had a gain of function but it was like 8 years ago, and after like 7 minutes it was destroyed, and they were just wrote, by the way, we accidentally did this gain of function thing, and they destroyed it right away, and it wasn't the COVID virus, which I feel like that part is important too. Sorry, just scrolling through here. They defend him and never believe a sexual assault victim. Well, they believe what's her name, the one that accused Biden. I see a lot of articles and hear a lot about the increase in mental health services. It's mainly about the state of the country and Trump. I just wanted to say, Mr. Flinch, that I have picked up on the fact that you hate Trump. I don't think he's being very secretive about it. You're the tyrant rant commission on idiots of lesson. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. Past tipping point gas won't even being fixed till late 2027. Idiocracies. I think by the end of April, pretty easily, I think we will be higher than the highest gas prices under Biden. It's going to get worse. And I think what else is going to drag is the overall inflation rates are going to be a month or two behind that. And so what I think is going to be really interesting is we're going to really see inflation start to peak around the election. I think we could be seeing like 4 or 5% inflation during the election. And this is not a Republican majority that won on, like promising or that won on substance. They just won on, Democrats are bad for inflation. And so then they come in and they just not only take away, they make inflation worse again. They also take away all the, what are they called? All the measures that like food stamps and stuff like that that actually help during a recession. Slowing going up. Great for them, and as an American, as apple pie, if they into everything. Apple pie is not actually American, by the way. Apple pie, it's Dutch. Apples aren't even American. They didn't have apples here. It's but how far will it go? Well, I'm guessing over $5. It'll be over $4 by the end of the week. We cannot fix the country, or we are not meant to. Just fix your own town. We are racist. I mean, we are racist. Let's just agree we're racist. I agree, veteran. I admire your tenacity. I just hope it's not all consuming hate. I think that, like, I don't know, like, I'll get to this in a minute. I want to talk about all this stuff, Gary. All right, so good luck to you, and thank you for using your time to give people a platform to speak. Pray to God, in the future, you find out you were wrong. I hope I'm wrong too, but if I'm not, I hope you find out you're wrong. I don't know what I'm wrong about Trump. I do not think that Trump and God have anything to do with each other. Guess what? Not every man has a black guy or a white guy. If you have racial issues in your town, maybe it's your town. When you have, it's the same people that make these kind of arguments about how racism doesn't exist, that also, like see a black pilot and assume that he took a white person's job. I don't care what happened in the former elections. You should, Gary. Harris should never should have been vice president. Joe Biden was. I think she was a good vice president. Get right with, hey, Democrats, where's the billions and billions of Democratic fraud in California? Where's the billions and billions of fraud in Texas and Oklahoma and all those states? It's by the way, Ohio is Republican state. We was going to have a discussion. Yes. Okay. Well, Trump is still going to be taking center stage, but I think that there is a difference between lying and lying. I know that sounds kind of crazy. There is a difference between trying to frame things in a certain way that somebody comes back and challenges and says that's an inaccurate way to frame it. Then there's just lying through your teeth. Donald Trump got caught in like 35,000 lies in just his first term. He lied so much, people just stopped counting how many lies he has. So he lied more in his first 4 years of president than Joe Biden did in his entire 50-year combined. And Donald Trump's lies are egregious. No, it was not. Finally, a good use for this computer. Thank you. God told me in a dream these wars have to happen. It's going to get worse. Then we're okay. Well, who's going to argue with God? We're racist. Come on, man. You are. America is the most. No, it's also the most racist country in the world. Anybody that doesn't think the USA is racist has never heard of Greenwood, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Florida, Elaine, Arkansas, or the Red Summer of 1919. Don't believe the media. Go out and what do you think I'm doing right now? It's not the media telling you that. There is objective facts. Okay. All right, so Black Americans are incarcerated at 5 to 6 times the rate of white Americans. That's just one thing. Just one of many, many, many things. We are absolutely a racist country. Don't believe Charlie Kirk. Go out and talk to some black people, Nick. I mean that. Go out and actually talk. Not black Republicans. They talk to the 90% of black people that aren't Republicans. Ask them, why do you feel there is racism? What is your experience? Maybe you should try learning something instead of just defending Trump all the time, Nick. Lapis came from Kazakhstan. There's a beautiful valley that looks like Vermont. You'd swear you're in Vermont. These people have never heard of sundown towns. Yes. Without California's federal tax income, the South would suffer more than it does now. Trump literally said they're eating the cats and dogs, and Harris had that. Are you actually serious? Look, Harris was good at what? She had zero accomplishments. Okay, that you don't know her accomplishments does not mean she didn't have any. It just means you're ignorant of what they were. So I would, rather than sit here and entertain you with things that you should know before you talk about them, why don't you do yourself a favor and just Google what were some of Kamala Harris's accomplishments as vice president and see what the answer is. He also said Kamala would send us into Iran for an endless war, and look what's happening. I didn't even know I was in a sundown town and what a sundown town was until like 6 months ago. Crazy. Yes, I mean that's like, and it's like the if you watch the what was that show, The Watchmen, right? And then there was this episode where they had the Tulsa massacre, and the number one thing Googled that night was the Tulsa massacre real? Like nobody knew about it. The problem isn't that we don't have racism. The problem is that we don't actually have it taught in our school, the impact of racism, the racist stuff that happens. I went through, and so after the Tulsa massacre thing, because that's how I learned about it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm better than everybody else. That's how I learned about it. But I thought, are there other instances of that? So I went and I did I found like 30 some instances of similar type things happening where like black towns were obliterated because they did things like register people to vote or open up a school for black kids. And Tulsa was the worst of these, but there were a lot of them that were really bad. And so like there's a book. If you want to know that America actually has a racist history, read a book called White Rage. It's a really, really good book on the topic. It goes through all of American history. It was written in like the mid-teens. It was written right when they overturned the Voting Rights Act, or to where states didn't need to have approval before they could change their laws again. And the lady that wrote it predicted exactly what was going to happen, and she predicted it accurately. Patrick, okay, so there's situations you can point to and say these people. It's not about a situation. It's about systemic racism. It's not like 5 to 6 times the incarceration rate for black people to white people is not a situation. It's not an event. It's a pattern. The demonization of incoming foreigners is a long-standing American. Yes, and it included white foreigners too. It was like when the Italians were building the skyscrapers, they were degraded. When the Irish came over here, they used to write, "No Irish need apply" on the windows. I love you all. Thank you for sharing your opinions. And thank you, Kelly, for your platform. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free. You're just projecting. I'm not projecting. You're so old. I know you said way more racist stuff than I ever have. No, you actually don't know that. You're getting emotional. Yeah, MAGAs tend to do that when they start losing. The fact that they believe Trump when he said that science doesn't know it yet about climate change. The MAGA ability to like completely not know the thing that they argue about, and they don't just argue about it, they argue about it sanctimoniously as though you don't know what you're talking about because they don't know what they're talking about. It's like just predictable insanity. I don't put my faith in the government, that's for damn sure. Oh, it's White Burt. Hi, Burt. Sorry, I don't know how to actually say it, but I just love the way burp sounds. I'm back. There's history of racism, yes, but no, but we aren't. Way more than other countries, like what? Japan? Like I mean, like Nick, we are like the most racist country. I mean, like we have like such racial disparity. I don't like. Where are you? Are you like in reality or not? There is like so much education, secondary education, school funding, stop and frisk. You can have like white people and black people use marijuana with about the same frequency. Black people are more likely to get stopped and frisked or have traffic stops too. Like all the like black people are more likely to be stopped and searched for drugs. If they find drugs, black people are more likely to be arrested, whereas white people are more likely, well, just don't do it again. If they are arrested, black people are more likely to be charged. If they are charged, black people are more likely to plead guilty. If it goes to trial, black people are more likely to be convicted. If they're convicted, black people receive longer sentences. Black people have less, are paroled early less often. That's just the jurisprudence system. That's just one aspect of it. There is so much racial disparity ingrained into our system, and it's systemic. It's all tied together. It's like if you've ever had a bunch of stereo cables and speaker cords and stuff like that, and you kept them all in a tub of some sort, and then you go and it's time to unwind them, and then somehow they all got entangled together. So you have to sit there for like 2 hours and unentangle them. That's what racism is like. Every aspect of systemic racism, from school to family life to prison to jurisprudence to wealth building to jobs to employment to business ownership, all of that kind of stuff, it's all just thrown in a tub and it's left there for 250 years. And now there's a big tangled mess. And you want to just convince me that there's not a big tangled mess there. But there is a big tangled mess there. And you can look at that big tangled mess if you just Google examples of racial disparity in America. As a running tally, hey, Skippy, how's it going, buddy? Still at 0 Epstein arrests. We're like other countries in the world are way ahead of us. There are still sundown towns black truckers are jailed or deleted in them every month. Okay. What is Mason? So for this is just Googling this for those who don't know. Let me, including, I heard of it, but I wasn't. Okay, so sundown towns were all white municipalities or neighborhoods in the United States that intentionally excluded black people and sometimes other racial minorities through discriminatory laws, intimidations, and violence, requiring them to leave town limits by sunset. Oh yeah, you see that in all kinds of like movies and stuff. Yeah, you'll be out of here by sundown. You hear that, boy? Requiring them to leave town limits by sunset. Prevalent from the late 19th century to the 1960s, these towns enforced segregation through signs, threats, and sometimes often municipal ordinances. And so, Friend Zone is saying that in a lot of ways, those things still exist. You can't find, I mean, you can't point anywhere in the world, not find a group of people and find murderers. So I guess that makes murder okay. MAGA is a cult. Bro, I'm not even MAGA and I don't support Trump. Okay, yeah, you do say that. The collective intellectual capacity of MAGA. Okay. So, all right. Gary, I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about my new Substack article and why I was thinking of you when I wrote that. But I need to take a quick intermission right now, and I'll be back in just a second. All right, I'm back. Thanks for waiting. Before I proceed, I want to just mention something. I've talked about this before a little bit, and so some of you already know this, but I wanted to mention that I have about a year and a half ago, July 4th of 2024, I got COVID for the first time, and I had long COVID after that. And as I was dealing with my long COVID, I started learning about nutrition and how nutrition could help with it. And so what I did is I started looking into getting rid of all the processed food that I could. And the long-term impact of that, I've lost 60 pounds since I did that. But the biggest thing I did was I went from anything with processed flour. I started grinding my own wheat to make my own bread, make my own pasta, make my own cakes and pies. I have not been counting calories or anything like that. I eat what I want when I want. I like, here's my homemade pot. I eat pies. I make the best cobbler you've ever tasted in your life. Like, I really do enjoy what I eat, but I've lost weight and my COVID is better. And I had some, like, without being gross, I had diarrhea for like 25 years and kept getting colonoscopies and endoscopies, and nobody could figure out what was going on. And switching to fresh milled flour solved that, and it helped me lose a bunch of weight. So I try to encourage people. I'm actually in the middle of writing a book about it, but there's two things that I think help. Are, one, you need a grain mill if you want to try doing it. Right now, grain mills are getting really hard to find because it's become a trend. But this is what I have, the classic grain mill. It's sold out. These are actually my prices. But the other thing you can get that's really helpful is this Artiste mixer. And what's really cool about the Artiste mixer is you can see it right here that there's these bars that come down. Like, it comes down and it kneads it from the bottom. So it like mimics the human hand when it kneads the bread. So it does a much better job of kneading it. Right there, it looks like it's making cookie dough. There, it's making some bread. But anyway, just mentioning this. If you want to order one, if you want to try cooking with fresh milled flour and you want to get yourself an Artiste or whatever, you can go on Nutrimill.com and use the code MPK20 at checkout to get a 20% discount on whatever you order. Oh, I thought I didn't have the. So that's the Artiste. I thought it was up on the thing, but it wasn't. But this is what it looks like. It's just a little mixer. And, you know, like if it's just you and your family that you're baking for, that's big enough. If you need something bigger, the Bosch works. But anyway, just wanted to mention that, throw that out there. And now, can't be in the middle, not being fully on the left. I have no idea what I'm saying that's insane. All right, so like saying that, you know, we shouldn't have the incarceration rate 6 times higher for Black people than white people. If you think that's insane, I think what's insane is that we have that kind of imbalance. Me acknowledging that kind of imbalance is what you seem to think is insane. When you first came here, you used to talk and actually debate. In the last few minutes, I've seen you say derogatory comments at Kelly that got held by YouTube itself. All right, so prejudice is merely an attempt to hoard resources. Europeans discovered how well this would work based on race during the John Punch case in the 16th century. Oh, I just realized I'm not plugged in. I need to plug in my laptop. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go. All right. So now we are way into this. Gary, I'm ready to talk to you. I'm sorry for all the delaying. All right. So this is my Substack article that I wrote today, and it's called The Rubber Band Problem. All right, and it's about Donald Trump and how he articulates things. Oh, here it is. Sorry, this is it. The Rubber Band Problem. This is actually what I wanted to talk about today. And so I'm not going to read this to you, but I'm going to, explain my thought to you and post the link so that you can follow or decide if you want to read it or not. So here's my view of what the rubber band problem actually is. The rubber band problem is you stretch a rubber band and you keep stretching it. And one of two things is either going to happen. It's either going to break or it's just going to lose its elasticity. And it's not going to spring back the way it's supposed to. And I was thinking about this in terms of how Donald Trump is taken, how his word is taken. And like I was saying, there's a lot of things Donald Trump lies about just through and through. There's not a lot of controversy that Donald Trump occasionally lies, right? Like even the most ardent Trump supporter would concede that, even if there's like, oh, what about Joe Biden? Because that's how MAGAs defend. Is when they know they're wrong, they say, what about Joe Biden? But what happens is he also tends to telegraph his punches. And then what happens is he will say things like, I'm going to invade Venezuela, or indicate he's going to invade Venezuela. And he'll keep saying, I'm going to invade Venezuela. And then you're like, oh, he's going to invade Venezuela. And people are like, no, he's being hyperbolic. He's not really going to do that. Then he goes and he invades Venezuela. And then people are like, oh, well, he should have done that. And then they start defending that he invaded Venezuela. And he's got that buffer built in to where he says something outlandish. And then he gets people to come in, react to it. And then people say, you're overreacting. Then people start defending it. And then as people start defending it, they start justifying it. Then he acts. And then there's already this precondition to the act built in. Whereas if he had just come out and invaded Venezuela from the start, it wouldn't have been as positive, at least among his MAGAs. If he had just went and invaded Iran on day one, you wouldn't have people sitting here going now, well, they're terrorists and we've been at war for 47 years. All right, that's all the rubber band. Stretching and stretching and stretching. He's getting you used to the same propaganda. He's stretching it. He's stretching it. And what he does when he does that is he's manipulating the Overton window. He's actually changing what acceptable discourse is in this country. So we went from, deporting the worst of the worst to torturing children, and MAGAs will still defend it, right? How are MAGAs defending torturing children? Because they got used to the idea of saying that dehumanizing foreign-born people and undocumented immigrants or asylum seekers. They lump all these groups together. And then they're just all bad. And they're all beneath humanity. They can even take the word humane out of the treatment of children. That's not a hypothetical. They have actually removed the word humane from how children should be treated. That's the thing that they did. And not a single MAGA politician has stood up and said, this is wrong. Torturing children is wrong. Because the rubber band has lost its elasticity. He's stretched the Overton window so much. And it's not the window itself. Like we always talk about the window as the scope of ideas. Actually, the Overton window is the people willing to accept those ideas. He didn't stretch the window so much as he manipulated a certain group, a certain member pool of the population that's willing to accept whatever he says and whatever he does. That's not chess or something masterful. That's just evil. And you have people that buy into that evil. Torturing children is evil. I'm not going to equivocate on that. Torturing children is bad. You know, I talked about this at the beginning of the show, but even like in this Camp Dilly, where the children, the only way they could compensate for the fact they were being tortured and denied sleep and given food with worms in it and stuff, the only way they could compensate was to draw with their crayons and their paper. And so the guards took away their crayons, and their paper. Why? Unto what end? Other than to just cause misery in children. I don't think I've called you an idiot before directly, Nick. I think I have said that you have to be an idiot to believe a certain thing. Now, you may believe that thing, and by conjunction said I called you an idiot, but I only said you're an idiot if you believe a certain thing. There's a YouTube channel that covers the stories of black truckers in real time. I won't put his name up here. He's a trucker. Is it a good channel or a bad channel? But Nick, I do not think you're an idiot. If that makes you feel any better. The fact you haven't been shadow banned shows you stand out from the MAGA. Black people are on the bottom of every positive metered lifestyle statistic. We're at the top of every negative lifestyle statistic, I guess. Okay. So I'm going to go back down to, I think I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Okay. I don't get gummies anymore. I had to stop doing the gummies. They make me vomit. I have a nauseous reaction to them. You need to start up again, Mr. Finch. Mr. Finch. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you reading it. So you can't, China is going to attack us soon. They keep buying up land surrounding military bases. I think that's a bit of a hyperbolic. Yeah. I looked into that, and it seems like there's a lot of like nonsense about that. I'll look into it more, and Nick, I'll present something on that tomorrow's show. I've looked at it before, and I don't have great recollection on all of it, but I'll look into it for you. What has happened in Trump's history that makes him a great guy? He's run casinos into the ground. He lies on 1031 transfers. He even hated his own brother, and yet he likes MAGA somehow. Nonsense. America. He manipulated where the window starts and where the window ends. He really has. And I really wish we would like recognize that the Overton window is organic. The Overton window is not an immutable thing. It is actually the people that accept, the Overton window is defined as the range of ideas that the people are willing to accept. So if you manipulate those people to accept other things, you have changed the Overton window. So actually, in reality, the Overton window is not the ideas, they're the people that hold the ideas. The Supreme Court even ruled his high percentage tariffs were unconstitutional, and he still went against the Supreme Court. And the same people that yelled that Biden was going against the Supreme Court when he found a different way to do some student loan forgiveness jumped on and defended Trump trying to find another way to do tariffs Biden did it. Well, when Biden did it, you criticized him for it. I don't recall that. I apologize for calling you an idiot. There's also a difference between idiot and ignorant. Ignorant just means that you don't know something. Everyone is. I'm ignorant on a lot of things. That's why I try to learn. China has no intentions of attacking anyone except Taiwan anytime soon. Well, I'm sure that Donald Trump will be there to, stop them and say, hey, you can't go around just attacking other countries. China owns 384,000 acres of USA land. And like I said, I will look into it. I think that the all surrounding USA bases, I think that I'm skeptical of that. I think Congress also passed some kind of laws about what land China can buy. The bigger issue with that land that's being bought up is who it's being bought from. And it's not just being bought by China. It's being bought up by big agriculture. And it's being bought from small farms. Also, the U.S. has been putting military bases around China for a lot longer than they've been doing it to you. I mean, what are they going to do? Like, farm us to death? Like, what are they going to do with this land that they put around a military base? Like, kind of like a innocuous threat to me. Yeah, but it doesn't seem like. Oh, who is president then? Ignorance is bliss. The Supreme Court afforded Trump free rein from prosecution. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. I don't want to derail the whole conversation to make it about China and farmland. The Supreme Court afforded Trump free rein from prosecution. His first term, he refused on NSA phone. He entered into meetings with Russia. MAGA would lose their mind if a non-Republican did that BS. Oh, they would absolutely. There's so many things that Trump does that if a Democrat did it, there would be a poop flinging contest on Fox News. So-called, yeah. AOC would be kind of down the middle in a lot of Europe, like where you're at, right, Harry? For example, Bernie Sanders is considered some socialist whack job in America. He would be considered a semi-conservative in Europe. If the president has every right to do tariffs, the president doesn't have every right to do tariffs, though. That is 100% not what the Constitution says. The Constitution says that Congress has the right to do tariffs. The Constitution does not give the president the right to do tariffs. That's why the Supreme Court overruled it. The president does not have every right to do tariffs. Read the Constitution. Yeah, Clarence Thomas is woke. Introvert rock star. Actually, I think Clarence Thomas voted against it, or voted it. Introvert rock star runs a good channel. Normally, these deletions of black truckers only hit social media when the family speak out. That's really interesting. Mine claw hold will stop anything. I don't know what that means. Testosterone free thinking, whatever that means. I mean, China constantly talks about how they plan on attacking Taiwan. They threaten the United States pretty frequently. They're very violent. I don't think that they are anywhere near as violent as a government as we are. How many countries has since World War II? Okay, so there's Tibet, South Korea, Myanmar, India, Vietnam. Okay. So yeah, the U.S. has maintained a global expeditionary power projection model, conducting major wars in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, as well as dozens of smaller scale interventions across Latin America, the Middle East, and Africa. China is not innocent, but they are nowhere near as violent as the United States. The Supreme Court that protects Donald Trump is woke. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the stupidity of MAGA. That's like the MAGA defense of everything is just, if you disagree with them, it's woke. As though like woke just has become this pejorative that is broadly colors everything that they disagree with as wrong. White privilege goes a long way in America. His entire cabinet is incompetent and stupid. Nobody says nothing. It'll be death of America. China hasn't been to war since Korea. The U.S. has been at war pretty much every year since Korea, in one way or another. Not all war is physical. No, but our wars are, and we've, the Cold War, we were kind of involved in that. Once they all own all patches around, once they own all the patches around the military bases, the base will magically disappear and merge with their property. MAGA doesn't have to do that. That thing is like a whole 7 pages. I'm talking about the Constitution. Oh, yeah, MAGA. They would like to read the entire Constitution would take them forever. Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. The president overrules the Constitution. No, he doesn't. Actually, he swears that the president swears an oath to follow the Constitution. The Constitution rules the president. Are you like a real person? Like, is that a real argument? I'm genuinely curious. Are you a troll or a bot? Or are you an actual real person in America that has a vote? Are you is that like parody? Like, I can't believe somebody would actually offer that as an actual realistic argument. The only thing China wants from Taiwan is the lithography machines, that ASML, but it's strategically important against the USA. Gee, I wonder why they'd want to protect themselves from the USA. I think so too. What's the point of voting in a president if they're constantly handcuffed by the constant? MAGA would have to learn how to read first. Can you imagine a world where MAGA reads? All right, so we caught up there. Let me see if I missed any good comments from earlier. They asked Kamala on national TV. I don't know what you're referring to. That doesn't mean she didn't have any accomplishments. She had accomplishments. Like, one of the things that, if you must know, this whole thing that she was like czar, the border czar, that's like a fiction thing. But what she was tasked with was to reduce the number of people that are actually coming here to seek asylum by making it easier for people to stay in the country where they lived. Because I think a lot of people would rather stay in their country if they can, like, actually get a job and support their families and not starve to death or be murdered by cartels. So what she did is she went and she talked to American companies and the governments of these I forget what it's called, the triangle, something triangle. Anyway, the countries at the time that were sending the most asylum seekers, and she got American companies to invest all this money in those countries to start jobs, and then those jobs actually had a positive effect on things. Like, people stopped wanting to come over here. They wanted to stay there and work in their own country because they had hope that they could. She helped those countries build up their job base so that people weren't coming over here. She doesn't get credit for that. She deserves credit for that, but she doesn't get credit for that. Did you know that, Gary? Did you know she did that? Like, she did things that you don't know. What she did does not mean she didn't do them. Okay. Clarence Thomas woke. This level of ignorance is only tolerated in the USA. People receive public beatings for such nonsense in certain places abroad. So here's a story for you, friend zone. My mother-in-law, she passed away 2.5 years ago. But at the time she passed away, she had a boyfriend that was a Republican, never Trumper, who was also a retired Supreme Court justice. I think it was Supreme Court justice in Florida. And he went to law school. He was in the same class as Hillary Clinton. He was 1 year ahead of Clarence Thomas. And so I asked him what Clarence Thomas was like in college, because he was like, I mean, I don't know, where he fits, how many, black law students went to Yale before him, but I imagine it wasn't a whole lot. And so I guess he would just like go to all the parties and stuff, but he would just sit there quietly, kind of not paying attention to anybody. He was kind of a loner. But anyway, I do find him interesting, like how it's like he got where he was by not making waves. And then because he got there, he made sure he continued to not make waves. And so he could have done a lot by making waves. I feel like somebody was talking about Steven. Well, I think Brett mentioned Steven from, is it Steven or Steve from Django Unchained? That's who Clarence Thomas reminds me of. That's funny, is taking out the Venezuelan dictator not helping. Is taking out the Venezuelan dictator not helping the people? Okay, well, has it helped the people? Who has it helped? Nick? His vice president is in charge now. Nothing has appreciably changed there other than who controls the oil. That doesn't help anybody in Venezuela. Tell me how people in Venezuela have been helped. America has a literacy rate below the global average, and it shows. Because I don't know what you mean by he displaced a lot of people. I don't even know what you're referring to. I'm sorry. Because he displaced a lot of, what do you mean he displaced a lot of people from Venezuela? Are you talking about people that were that fled Venezuela because of Maduro? Yes, Maduro was a bad person. Still is. I don't understand why you're back to this. It's like everything with you is a false dichotomy. Because Maduro is bad, that does not mean that Trump is good. There does not have to be the opposite side of that coin. Maduro can be bad and Trump can be bad at the same time. If one drug trafficker kills another drug trafficker, that doesn't make the drug trafficker that did the killing justified. Donald Trump did bad things to a bad person. That doesn't make him good. Her biggest accomplishment was being so fake and artificial that she lost it. That's a take, I guess. Different approach, sure. Over 50 million got through her border. Well, now we're just adding to the numbers. Nothing you said is even remotely true, including how the word border is spelled. MAGA doesn't like what Harris did. It reduces the greatness difference between the USA and those countries. I was okay with Venezuela, not what we're doing with Iran. I wasn't okay with what we're doing in Venezuela. I don't think we can just go and kidnap presidents of other countries because we don't like them. I think it's a bad, like it's a crime. Donald Trump committed a crime. Going and taking Maduro was a crime. Isn't Clarence Thomas the hair on the Coke can guy? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what the hair on the Coke can guy means. Interesting fact. Netanyahu rose to power after the former prime minister got assassinated. Okay. Noob. Hi there. Well, it helps us because China was getting that oil from Venezuela. Whether it helps us or not is irrelevant. If you want, again, Nick, I'll say the same thing applies to this and Iran. If you feel like taking Venezuela oil is important because China's getting it, then go to Congress and say, I want to go to war with Venezuela so that we can take their oil. Have that argument, have that debate in Congress. Then, if Congress declares war on Venezuela, go and do what you want to do. Why shouldn't the president follow the Constitution? Have that case out. Have that heard out. Go and tell Congress that. It's not about whether or not we invaded Venezuela. It's not just about that. It's whether or not we legally invaded Venezuela, according to the Constitution. I have family members who believe Ivanka saved millions of kids from sex trafficking, that vaccines are poison, that regular food is poison, the cancer is caused by parasites. That history is a lie. Yep, I have one of those too. My brother-in-law. So if we are, in fact, we are not in war with China. Venezuelans are free now thanks to Trump. Their lives aren't any different. It was before my time, but the name sounds familiar, but I'm too lazy to Google it. I live close to the border of Venezuela. What country do you live in? Honduras? Ooh, it was his own crime. 9 inches, but hangs to the left. Dude, we all know that that's not true. It was his own Coke can. The Coke can, I'm missing something. He harassed Condoleezza Rice. I remember when she was the bad person. I can tell you drugs is a big problem. Nobody says drugs aren't a problem. And Gustavo Petro is actually not a bad person when it comes, like, he's actually one of the reasons Venezuela. Anyway. Anita Hill. Oh, yeah. So you got did you mix up Condoleezza Rice and Anita Hill? I'm not doing two things. People that want, yeah, I wonder what, like, Anita Hill should have been believed. And that's one of the things where Joe Biden deserves real criticism. People that want to talk to you about Maduro but can't tell you anything about banana republics. What's worse, they understand infinitely more about the Mideast pathetic deliverance like scholarships. Yeah, we have aided or overthrown or aided in the overthrow of, I think, 41 governments in Latin America since 1906. We've done all kinds of things, like we redirected the Panama Canal. It was going to be a different canal that would have actually been better. We didn't just do that, though. We actually, the country of Panama exists because we made it so. The Guatemala, the Banana Republic, literally comes from Guatemala. Guatemala was a government that had the worst wealth gap in the entire world. And to give you an idea, in the 50s, a poor black family, an impoverished black family in America, made 40 times as much money as the average Guatemalan citizen. And this banana, or the United Fruit Company, owned like almost all of the arable land. Almost all of the farmable land was owned by this one country or company. And today, that's called Chiquita, like the Chiquita bananas you get, that little sticker. Yeah, that company. And it owned almost all of the land. And then this guy came along. I can't think of his name right now, but he won the election. He was a democratically elected leader. And one of the things he wanted to do is to help with this imbalance. He wanted to purchase unused land. See, the UFC, they weren't even using all of the land they had. They owned all of this land, but they didn't use a lot of it because they wanted to limit the banana supply so that they could keep the price of bananas higher. And so what they did is they just bought up the land and didn't use it. So this guy came along and he became president of Guatemala, and he wanted to buy the land from the United Fruit Company and then sell it for like $5,000 to people at a reasonable interest rate. And that would have allowed a lot of people to become self-employed and, you know, run their own little banana farms. So the UFC didn't like this because they didn't want competition. And here's the other thing is they did a Trump on their taxes, and they undervalued what their property was worth when they paid their taxes on it. And so this president, his idea was to buy the UFC land based on what UFC said it was worth in their taxes. He was only going to buy the unused part. Wasn't going to buy any of the used part. But they were all upset. And like the United Fruit Company at that time, they controlled the utilities. They controlled the roads. They controlled more of Guatemala than Guatemalan government did. And they didn't like this. And this was an American company in Guatemala. And two of the people that were on the board happened to be the Dulles brothers, who were one was the director of the CIA, and the other was the I want to say Secretary of State. And so they did not like the idea that this socialist guy, he wasn't even really a socialist. He was kind of more of a democratic socialist is what we would call him now. But they said he was a communist. And the Dulles brothers, you may recognize the whole domino theory. Remember that? The idea that if one communist country gets entrenched, then all the other countries are going to just fall like dominoes. Right. So then Guatemala, if Guatemala becomes communist, then all of South America is going to become communist. That was their pitch. And so then the CIA actually sponsored a coup of Guatemala. And remember, the director of the CIA at the time was actually on the board for the United Fruit Company. So we overthrew Guatemala, and then for the next, ever since then, Guatemala's country has been in chaos. And it's been in large part because of our own actions to defend American prosperity. And not American, like the prosperity of America, but the prosperity of wealthy Americans. This was Epstein class before we started calling it the Epstein class. So anyway, I can't remember how I got on this thing. Anyway, I find that fascinating. Like we are not the good guys. We have done a lot to destroy the governments in Latin America. People that want to talk to you about Maduro but can't tell you anything about them. Oh, that's it. That's how I got into it. That's how we got banana republics. Cartels are real, and they are not just into drug dealing. They are real, but they are pretty much just into drug dealing. They're into keeping their cartels going, but they're pretty much into drug dealing, yeah. And they are real, and we should stop them. And the best way to stop them is not invading Venezuela or Colombia. I didn't know if we are at war with China. They wouldn't tell us if we were, but I am worried. We're not at war with China. And well, the spy balloon is... Do you think like China and the U.S. don't spy on each other? Venezuelans, is that a band? Was David Lee Roth in that? Now I'm like jealous that they're not. I wonder what that would... What is a song they would sing? The FBI's own report says that most of Venezuela's drugs were going to Europe, not America. And including the boats we bombed. Okay. Not Condoleezza Rice, Anita Hill. Anita Hill to die on. I saw the balloon get... Yeah, okay. Yeah, there was a balloon. Nobody's arguing that. I used to be a soldier for the United Fruit Company, Panama Division. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't live here to see the destruction. Okay. Y'all do. You'd all be Sharia lawed if Trump didn't protect us from it. Yes. Hippies made cartels powerful by buying cocaine. They were the yuppies of the 80s. I watched them buy the cocaine. Don't blame them for selling a product. That's the man. Blame your grandpa. Yeah, it's interesting how differently we think of cocaine and crack. Not every day you see a fighter jet blow something on U.S. oil. What's insane? Yeah. Apparently, those balloons are not like little tiny balloons or something. Like there's all kinds of debris, and they waited until it got over the ocean so that like they wouldn't kill anybody by shooting it down. The first place on Earth to be bombed by plane was Blackwall. Wall Street. Interesting. Does Guatemala really have that much influence? I don't understand the question. Guatemala doesn't have that much influence. I'm trying to figure out where you like. I'm not saying Guatemala has influence. Trump putting military base in Peru and Ecuador to combat cartels and to keep cartels. What? No, he's not. Bananas are sold in every store in the USA. Try doing the math. How many Americans know who Arbenz was? Arbenz, is that? Yeah. Yeah, that's Arbenz. That's right. Okay. Thank you for that. That's the guy that he was the guy I was talking about that actually wanted to reform Guatemala, and he was very popular, and then they got him killed. Like 500 million bananas sold a year. Besides, what is a banana republic? There was called a banana republic because the United Fruit Company basically ran the country, and they were like a banana people. Also very familiar. I'm afraid pagan religions use blood in bad ways. Just checking about. Have no idea what on earth that has to do with anything. Interestingly, crack and cocaine are equally as bad of drugs, right? But I think that the not as far as prison was concerned. I think it was like you got 20 times the minimum sentence for crack as you did cocaine, and black people generally did crack, and white people generally did cocaine, and so it was. When people say that we're not a racist country, wonder how many of the comments that don't make sense are bots. I think a good number of them. If you're like, I'll watch and you'll see like 12 people join the channel all at one time, and then you will see this deluge of stupid comments. Nope, crack makes you crazy. Coke ain't that bad. Okay. So I stumbled upon your stream and heard you saying if Guatemala becomes communist, the whole South America becomes communist. So I was asking. Oh, I wasn't saying. I was saying that was what the domino theory said. The domino theory in the 50s that like predicated the whole Cold War was that if one country goes communist, all the countries around it will become communist, and so on and so forth. And so that's like why we had to stop, Guatemala, and why we had to stop communism in Korea, and why we had to stop communism in Vietnam. And we didn't stop it in Vietnam or Korea, and the rest of the region didn't turn into communist countries. So anyway, but the Dulles brothers who coined that whole theory were also the ones that were on the board for the Guatemala, the United Fruit Company. Okay, during the Cold War, there was something that was actually believed by the U.S. government. Yeah, that was some. Basically, any country that adopted a communist government was a slippery slope to communism worldwide. Cracks for sure worse. It's coke mixed. How many foreign interventions by USA since 1776? Why do so many Americans believe their country has the right to do it as a... Yeah, the U.S. is the most violent country in the world. I don't think there's any question about that. Maybe Russia, but it's hard to say. We basically at war constantly. I don't know what you're going on about here, Anthony. Yes, cartels are bad. You can't make crack with cocaine, without cocaine, but figure out the sentencing laws based on that fact. I get 90% of the American populace voted Trump. That's not true. I think he's a rage baiter. Sadly, so many Americans are unaware of the history of America. Yep. Ignorant of the history of America and ignorant of the history of everything else. It's like when they talk about Donald Trump is the greatest president ever. And I just want to say, okay, who is fifth? Like, how about you give me the top 7 and why you think that, what their accomplishments were. They make these statements that are so unequivocal and so absent of thought that the very fact they say it proves their ignorance. Like it's not just Donald Trump is not a good president. I don't think he is. But you will never hear me unceremoniously say, so-and-so is the greatest president ever. Like you actually have to put some thought into that. What did they accomplish? What legislation were they behind? Like Donald Trump basically has 2 key pieces of legislation, both of which are tremendously unpopular and terrible. The tax cut for the billionaires in the first term and the tax cut for the billionaires in the second term. So what has he done that's made him so great? What has he done to make America great again? Destroy millions of lives? Kill hundreds of thousands of people? Through his own incompetence? According to statistics, Russia is the most dangerous country, followed by the Ukraine. I wonder why. Yeah, like if you're talking about, like just danger, but in terms of violent countries, in terms of countries that attack other countries, not dangerous place to live. General, not sure, but it's basically von Mises. It's easy for you to sit back and... Yeah, Anthony, you don't live there either. Are you in Venezuela? No, he's not. He's just a troll. Bro, only 28 million people live there. So it's more likely to talk about Venezuela while not there. He's so great that he cried the election was stolen and his minions committed domestic terrorism on January 6th. Trump ended 12 wars and closed borders and stopped... Okay, he did not do any of that. 90... No, they didn't. Oh, so he's quoting you. 90% of Americans voted for Trump. If you are a Trumper who thinks that people who voted for Harris aren't real Americans. Yeah, that's probably what he's thinking. Anyway, I don't know if this guy's worth keeping around. Trump has the biggest ego of all time. I swear to God. I got the size right this time. Oh, there you go. The fragile ego. People just worship the well-known narcissist. Well, he says what they're thinking. That's what I've been told anyway. All right, so I think that's a wrap for today. I think we're good. If you get a chance, read my Substack article that I posted, and I will talk to you tomorrow.